Have you ever wondered what lies beyond the seemingly endless string of rooms in Roblox doors? What terrifying creatures still await in the darkness, lurking behind the corners, waiting for an unsuspecting victim to step too close? If so, you're in for a chilling surprise with the release of Doors, Floor 2, an update that has captured the imaginations and fears of players everywhere. It builds upon the spine-chilling horror and fast-paced gameplay of the original Doors while introducing new elements, challenges, and mysteries that will keep you on the edge of your seat. In this deep exploration of the update, we will walk through the new features, characters, and chilling lore that make Floor 2 a remarkable evolution of the already terrifying Roblox experience. In the first version of Doors, players were thrown into a haunted hotel where the goal was simple yet terrifying: survive. Each room presented a new danger, a puzzle, or a creature that would either chase you down or force you to solve riddles to escape. This simplicity was its brilliance. Every room felt like a new threat, and the tension built with every step forward. Players grew attached to their own strategies, whether they were hiding in closets, trying to outmaneuver monsters, or carefully managing their resources like flashlights and keys. But despite the sense of dread, there was always a flicker of hope. Players could, with skill and patience, make their way through the endless procession of rooms. Now, with Floor 2, this flicker of hope seems even more distant. The descent into the heart of this mysterious building opens a whole new world of danger. Gone are the somewhat familiar trappings of the original rooms, replaced by an even more sinister, labyrinthine layout that plays tricks on the mind. The rooms are larger, more complex, and filled with environmental hazards that are as dangerous as the monsters themselves. In this update, the environment is not just a backdrop, but an active player in the horrors that unfold. Lights flicker unpredictably, floors shift underfoot, and the very walls seem to have a life of their own. It's not just the monsters you need to watch out for anymore. It's everything. Floor 2 takes the core concept of Doors and amplifies it with more diverse and challenging gameplay mechanics. The dynamic room generation system has been fine-tuned, creating even more unique experiences with every playthrough. No two runs feel the same, which keeps players on their toes, never quite sure what's going to be waiting for them in the next room. Some rooms now feature multiple exits, but not all of them are safe. The wrong door might lead you directly into the clutches of a waiting monster or trap you in a room where your options for escape are slim to none. The key is to stay alert, to read the subtle clues that the game provides, and to always be ready to change your strategy at a moment's notice. Speaking of monsters, Floor 2 brings a terrifying roster of new enemies that challenge the player in ways that weren't present in the first floor. While familiar foes like Rush and Ambush still roam the halls, their presence feels even more ominous in these new surroundings. They're not alone, however. The update introduces several new entities, each with its own unique abilities that force players to rethink how they approach each situation. One of the most notable is the Whisper, a ghostly figure that can only be detected by sound. This entity doesn't make itself visible like Rush or Ambush. Instead, players must rely on their hearing to avoid its deadly grasp. The faintest of whispers can be heard in the distance as it approaches, growing louder as it gets closer. When the sound becomes deafening, that's your cue to hide or run. But move too slowly, and the Whisper will claim you in its silent, spectral embrace. Then there's the Lurker, a shadowy figure that blends seamlessly into the dark corners of the rooms. Unlike other monsters that chase players outright, the Lurker is a more passive threat until you get too close. It waits patiently in the darkness, watching, waiting for the moment when a player unknowingly steps within its reach. The Lurker teaches players the importance of caution and awareness. It doesn't reveal itself easily, and more than once you might find yourself second-guessing whether that shadow in the corner is just part of the environment or something far more sinister. If you make the wrong call, it's already too late. Possibly the most unnerving new addition is the Puppet Master. This entity doesn't physically harm the player in the same way as the others, but its control over the environment makes it one of the most dangerous. The Puppet Master has the ability to manipulate the objects in the room. Doors will slam shut, blocking your escape. Furniture will move unexpectedly, trapping you in small spaces. Lights will flicker, making it hard to see what lies ahead. This entity thrives on chaos, and it often feels like the entire room is alive, working against you. Every step you take feels uncertain, and just when you think you've found a way out, the puppet master twists the environment to force you back into danger. Outwitting this entity requires not just quick reflexes, but a deep understanding of how the rooms are laid out, and the patience to see through its tricks. With these new threats come new ways to fight back, or at least to survive. Players are given access to a variety of new tools that will aid them in their journey through Floor 2. One of the most useful is the Luminous Key, a special key that not only opens doors, but also emits a faint glow, illuminating hidden paths or objects that might otherwise go unnoticed. This key becomes essential in certain rooms where the darkness is so thick that even your flashlight can't cut through it. Another new item is the Mirror Shard, a rare tool that allows players to catch a brief glimpse of the future. This item can reveal the layout of the next room or show the location of a hidden monster, giving players a critical advantage in some of the more challenging parts of the game. These new items are not just fun additions, they are necessary for survival. Floor 2 is far more punishing than the first floor, and players will find themselves relying on every tool at their disposal. The puzzles have also been ramped up in difficulty, with some rooms requiring players to solve multi-step riddles while under the pressure of an approaching threat. In many cases, these puzzles are directly tied to the lore of the game, with cryptic notes and hidden symbols offering clues not just to escape the room, but also to uncover the deeper mysteries of the hotel itself. Players who take the time to explore and solve these puzzles will find themselves rewarded with new insights into the story. The hotel itself feels more alive than ever before. The design of Floor 2 is breathtaking in its attention to detail. Each room feels like a unique space with its own history and purpose. From grand ballrooms with shattered chandeliers to cramped, decaying servants' quarters that seem to tell their own story of neglect and decay. The lighting plays a crucial role in building the atmosphere. Shadows stretch across the walls, and lights flicker unpredictably, casting the room in an eerie, ever-changing glow. This dynamic lighting not only adds to the horror, but also becomes a gameplay mechanic in itself. Players must learn to read the light, knowing when it signals the approach of a monster or when it's simply a trick of the environment. The sound design has also been enhanced in this update. The creaking of old wood, the distant clatter of footsteps, and the unsettling silence that fills the spaces between. It all comes together to create a deeply immersive experience. Every sound feels intentional, designed to keep players on edge. Sometimes, the most terrifying moments come not from the monsters themselves, but from the anticipation, the waiting, the knowledge that something is out there in the dark, just beyond your reach. This sense of tension is what makes Floor 2 such a standout in the horror genre. It's not just about jump scares or loud noises. It's about creating an environment where fear is constant, where every choice feels like a matter of life and death. The multiplayer aspect of Doors has always been one of its most engaging features, and Floor 2 takes this to the next level. Cooperation becomes even more important as the rooms become more dangerous, and players will need to work together to solve puzzles, manage resources, and survive the onslaught of new monsters. But with this increased need for teamwork comes a new element of betrayal. Some rooms now feature limited hiding spots or resources, forcing players to make difficult choices. Do you sacrifice your teammate to save yourself, or do you risk it all to help them? These moments of moral dilemma add a fascinating layer of complexity to the game, and the choices players make can drastically alter the outcome of their playthrough. Floor 2 also introduces a number of hidden secrets and Easter eggs that players have been obsessively searching for since the update's release. Some are subtle nods to horror films and literature, while others are deeply tied to the game's lore. There are hidden rooms, cryptic symbols, and even entire sections of the floor that seem to serve no immediate purpose. Players have speculated that these areas are connected to future updates, offering tantalizing glimpses of what's to come. Theories abound in the community, with some players convinced that they've uncovered clues pointing to the true nature of the hotel, its inhabitants, and the dark force that controls it all. Since the update's release, the community reaction has been overwhelmingly positive. Players have praised the depth of the new content, the improved visuals, and the increased challenge. Many have noted that Floor 2 feels like a natural evolution of the original game, building on what made the first floor so terrifying while adding enough new elements to keep things fresh. However, some players have voiced concerns about the difficulty, particularly for those who are new to the game. The increased complexity of the rooms and the introduction of more punishing monsters can be daunting for casual players. That said, most agree that the challenge is what makes the game so engaging, and the sense of accomplishment that comes from surviving Floor 2 is unmatched. The release of Doors. Floor 2 marks a significant milestone for both the game and its community. The update not only expands upon the original's formula but elevates it, creating a richer, more terrifying experience that challenges players in new ways. From its chilling new monsters to its intricate puzzles and beautifully crafted environments, every aspect of this update is designed to keep players hooked, always wondering what lies just beyond the next door. And with so many secrets left to uncover, the journey through the hotel is far from over. Unsettling details that weren't as prominent in the original Doors. There's a distinct shift in the atmosphere, as if the hotel itself has become more sentient, more alive. The very air feels heavier, laden with a history that has yet to be fully uncovered. While the first floor of Doors presented a relatively linear progression with an emphasis on survival, Floor 2 introduces a far more complex narrative structure. Players who pay close attention to their surroundings will notice that the rooms are not just randomly designed spaces. They seem to tell a story of past occupants, strange experiments, and forgotten horrors. One of the most compelling aspects of this update is how the lore is gradually revealed through environmental storytelling. There are no outright explanations or cutscenes to spell out the narrative. Instead, players must piece together clues from the objects scattered around, the cryptic notes found in drawers, and the occasional appearance of old photographs or portraits that seem to change ever so slightly when viewed at different angles. These elements hint at a darker backstory involving the hotel's original owners and their potential connection to the supernatural events taking place within. Players have speculated that the hotel was once a hub for occult practices, with some rooms showing signs of ritualistic symbols carved into the walls and others containing odd relics that don't belong in the modern era. Moreover, the introduction of more interactive environments allows players to explore these narrative threads at their own pace. For example, one particularly eerie room is filled with old, dusty books that seem to contain passages written in a language no one can understand. Players who take the time to read through these texts may notice recurring phrases and themes that hint at a forgotten civilization or ancient curse tied to the very foundation of the hotel. These clues are tantalizing, drawing players deeper into the mystery as they attempt to connect the dots between the seemingly random pieces of information scattered throughout Floor 2. This leads to one of the most intriguing aspects of Doors, Floor 2, the role of player interpretation in shaping the story. While the game developers have undoubtedly crafted a complex backstory, much of the narrative is left intentionally vague, allowing players to fill in the gaps with their own theories and ideas. This open-ended storytelling has sparked countless discussions within the community, with fans coming together to share their interpretations and debate the true nature of the hotel and its inhabitants. Some believe that the hotel exists in a kind of liminal space, outside of normal time and reality, while others think that the players themselves are trapped in a purgatorial loop, forced to relive the horrors of the past until they uncover the truth. Adding fuel to these theories are the various hidden rooms and secret passageways that can be found throughout Floor 2. Unlike the more straightforward design of the first floor, these hidden areas are often difficult to find and require a keen eye for detail. Some players have reported discovering entire sections of the hotel that seem to defy logic, with staircases that lead nowhere, doors that open into blank voids, and windows that show impossible landscapes. These surreal spaces only deepen the mystery, suggesting that the hotel may not be bound by the same physical laws as the outside world. Could it be that the hotel itself is a manifestation of some greater, darker force? Or is it merely a reflection of the player's own fears and anxieties, given form by the game's twisted reality? The introduction of more complex puzzles in Floor 2, further reinforces the idea that the hotel is testing the players in some way. These puzzles are not just obstacles to be overcome, they often contain symbolic elements that seem tied to the overarching story. For instance, one puzzle requires players to arrange a series of ancient coins in a specific order, based on cryptic clues found in different rooms. Upon solving the puzzle, players are rewarded not only with access to the next area, but also with a brief glimpse into the past, a vision of a shadowy figure performing a strange ritual in the very room they are standing in. These moments add a sense of depth to the game, suggesting that the hotel itself is a living entity with a history that stretches back far beyond the player's arrival. Of course, it's not just the lore and narrative depth that makes Floor 2 stand out. The gameplay mechanics have also seen significant improvements. One of the most exciting additions is the expanded use of environmental hazards. In the first floor, players had to primarily worry about monsters and the occasional dark room. In Floor 2, the environment itself is a more active threat. Players may find themselves navigating rooms filled with dangerous traps, spikes that shoot up from the floor, walls that close in, or even gas leaks that gradually deplete the player's health if they linger for too long. These hazards force players to constantly stay on the move, adding a new layer of tension to the already nerve-wracking experience. One particularly innovative mechanic is the use of shifting rooms. In certain areas of the hotel, players may find that the room they just walked through no longer leads back to where they came from. Doors disappear, walls rearrange themselves, and what was once a safe space may suddenly become a deadly trap. This adds an element of unpredictability to the game, as players can never be sure if the route they've memorized will stay the same. The shifting rooms mechanic has been praised for its ability to keep players on edge as it plays with their expectations in unsettling ways. Another exciting gameplay feature introduced in Floor 2 is the inclusion of more advanced multiplayer interactions. In Floor 1, cooperation was important, but relatively simple. Players had to help each other avoid monsters and share resources like keys or flashlights. In Floor 2, however, teamwork becomes even more crucial. Certain rooms contain puzzles that require multiple players to solve, with each player having to complete a different task simultaneously. In one such puzzle, players are split into separate areas of the room and must communicate with each other to press a series of switches in the correct order, based on clues that only one player can see. These multiplayer puzzles encourage communication and coordination, making the experience far more collaborative and rewarding when successfully completed. However, with the heightened importance of teamwork comes a new layer of tension: competition for resources. Floor 2 introduces a limited resource system, meaning that items such as health packs, flashlights, and even hiding spots are not always available to everyone. This creates moments of intense decision-making, where players must choose whether to save a resource for themselves or share it with their teammates. In some cases, the scarcity of hiding spots can lead to betrayal, with players pushing each other out of the way to save their own lives. This dynamic adds an extra level of psychological horror to the game, as players are forced to weigh their own survival against the safety of the group. The competitive aspect of resource management has sparked a lot of discussion within the community. Some players relish the added challenge, enjoying the moral dilemmas and strategic thinking it requires. Others have expressed frustration, particularly in situations where they feel like their teammates are deliberately sabotaging them for personal gain. This tension between cooperation and competition is one of the most unique aspects of Floor 2, and it adds a new layer of complexity to the multiplayer experience. In addition to the new gameplay mechanics, the visual and sound design of Floor 2 has been significantly upgraded. The hotel is more detailed and atmospheric than ever before, with each room feeling like a carefully crafted space that adds to the overall sense of dread. The lighting is more dynamic, with shadows that seem to move on their own and flickering lights that cast eerie patterns across the walls. The sound design has also been praised for its immersive qualities, with distant whispers, creaking floorboards, and the occasional guttural growl of a lurking monster creating a constant sense of unease. What's particularly impressive about the sound design in Floor 2 is how it's used as a gameplay mechanic. In many cases, players must rely on audio cues to avoid danger, as certain monsters are only detectable by sound. For instance, when the whisper is nearby, players will hear a faint, disembodied voice growing louder as it approaches. Similarly, the lurker emits a low, rumbling growl when it's preparing to strike, giving players a split second to react. These audio cues are not just background noise, they are vital tools for survival, and players who learn to listen carefully will have a significant advantage. Another notable addition to Floor 2 is the introduction of unlockable content. As players progress through the game, they can find hidden keys or complete specific challenges to unlock special items, rooms, or even alternate endings. This adds a layer of replayability as players are encouraged to explore every nook and cranny of the hotel to uncover all of its secrets. Some unlockables are purely cosmetic, such as new character skins or special effects for items, while others have a more tangible impact on gameplay, such as upgraded versions of tools or access to powerful, game-changing items. One of the most intriguing unlockables is the option to replay the game with different difficulty modifiers. These modifiers can make the monsters more aggressive, increase the frequency of environmental hazards, or limit the number of available resources, creating a far more challenging experience for players looking for an extra level of difficulty. For those who enjoy the thrill of mastering the game's mechanics, these modifiers offer a new way to test their skills and push the boundaries of what they can accomplish. As with any major update, the community response to Doors. Floor 2 has been enthusiastic, with players praising the new content and sharing their experiences on forums, social media, and YouTube. Many content creators have taken to streaming their playthroughs of Floor 2, showcasing the game's most terrifying moments and sharing tips for surviving its many challenges. The game's developers have also been active in engaging with the community, listening to feedback and addressing any bugs or balance issues that have arisen since the update's release. Doors. Floor 2 represents a major step forward for the Roblox horror experience. The update builds on the foundation of the first floor while introducing a wealth of new features, from more complex puzzles and multiplayer mechanics to deeper storytelling and lore. With its immersive sound and visual design, unpredictable gameplay, and rich narrative, Floor 2 has set a new standard for horror games on the Roblox platform, leaving players eagerly anticipating what might come next. Whether you're a fan of the original or a newcomer to the Doors experience, Floor 2 is sure to keep you on the edge of your seat, wondering what new horrors await behind each door. Indoors, Floor 2. The mines stand out as one of the most ominous and dangerous areas players encounter. Descending from the relatively confined, eerie hotel setting of the upper floors into the depths of these mines is like stepping into a completely different world. Gone are the faded elegance and haunting memories of the hotel's corridors. Instead, you're thrust into a dark, oppressive environment where every step forward could be your last. The mines are more than just another area to explore. They symbolize a descent not only physically but psychologically into the very heart of the unknown horrors that lurk beneath the hotel. As players make their way deeper into Doors, Floor 2, the hotel begins to give way to a more industrial, claustrophobic environment. The walls become less adorned with the old-world charm of the hotel and more rugged with crumbling rock faces, wooden beams, and rusty mining equipment that suggest a long-abandoned operation. Faded signs, broken lanterns, and discarded pickaxes are scattered throughout the area, giving the sense that whoever worked here left in a hurry, and for good reason. The very atmosphere of the mines shifts drastically from the earlier rooms. Where the upper floors rely on dim lighting and flickering candles, the mines plunge players into almost complete darkness. The only light comes from the occasional hanging lantern or the faint glow of bioluminescent fungi clinging to the cave walls. This oppressive darkness makes navigation incredibly difficult and plays on one of humanity's oldest fears, the fear of the unseen. The deeper you go, the more the unsettling noises of the hotel fade, replaced by the ominous sounds of dripping water, the groaning of unstable rock formations, and the occasional distant, echoing crash that suggests something large, and possibly alive, moving through the deeper caverns. The sound design in the mines is masterfully executed using silence and sudden, unpredictable noises to keep players on edge. The mines introduces several new gameplay elements that separate it from the upper floors. The first and most obvious challenge is the complete lack of reliable lighting. While players may have relied on flashlights or the occasional room with functioning electrical lights above, the mines offer no such luxury. Here, light becomes an even more precious commodity. Players are forced to rely heavily on whatever tools they can find, such as discarded lanterns or makeshift torches. However, these light sources are limited, and players must be careful to conserve them, as prolonged use can drain their power or cause them to burn out. The darkness is not just an aesthetic choice, it plays directly into the gameplay. Several new enemies introduced in the mines are particularly adept at navigating this darkness, making the lack of visibility one of the player's greatest adversaries. These creatures are sensitive to sound and movement, requiring players to move carefully and use their light sources sparingly. In addition to the darkness, players must also contend with unstable terrain. The mines are riddled with pitfalls, collapsing tunnels, and rickety bridges that can give way without warning. One particularly dangerous area requires players to carefully balance on narrow wooden beams while avoiding loose rocks that could cause them to lose their footing. The game ramps up the tension in these moments, with the constant threat of a sudden drop into the unknown or being buried under falling debris. Players are also introduced to hidden traps scattered throughout the mines. These traps range from simple pitfalls covered by loose dirt to more complex contraptions left behind by the previous workers. Some traps are designed to block progress, while others are designed to injure or kill unwary players. The mines demand not only agility, but also careful observation, as the smallest detail, a slightly raised stone or a broken plank, could signal the presence of a deadly trap. The mines play a crucial role in the unfolding lore of Doors, Floor 2, offering players a deeper look into the dark history of the hotel and its mysterious origins. While the upper floors hint at a supernatural presence, the mines suggest that something far older and more sinister may be at play. The deeper players descend, the more they encounter strange symbols carved into the rock, along with abandoned mining equipment that seems out of place and time. One of the more persistent theories among the community is that the mines were not originally part of the hotel, but were uncovered during construction. There are several pieces of environmental storytelling that support this idea, such as journal entries left behind by miners, describing strange occurrences, voices in the dark, tools that move on their own, and a growing sense of unease among the workers. These entries hint at the possibility that the hotel was built over something ancient, and the deeper the miners dug, the more they disturbed whatever lay beneath. Adding to the mystery are the strange crystals found scattered throughout the mines. These glowing crystals seem to possess some kind of power, as they can affect the environment in strange ways, causing tunnels to collapse or preventing players from passing certain areas. Some players have theorized that these crystals are connected to the supernatural entities that haunt the hotel, and that they may even be the source of the dark energy that permeates the entire building. The idea that the hotel is built atop a powerful, ancient force opens up new possibilities for future updates and expansions to the game's story. The mines represent one of the most challenging and intriguing sections of Doors, Floor 2. The oppressive atmosphere, combined with the introduction of new gameplay mechanics, terrifying enemies, and deeper lore, makes this area a standout experience in the game. Players must navigate the pitch-black tunnels, avoid deadly traps, and contend with creatures that have adapted to the harsh environment of the mine. The dark history of the mines, and the theories surrounding their connection to the hotel's supernatural occurrences, add an extra layer of intrigue for players who enjoy piecing together the game's cryptic narrative. As players delve deeper into the mines, they find themselves not just battling for survival, but also uncovering the secrets of what may be the true source of the horrors that plague Doors. Floor 2. In every sense, the mines are not just a physical descent into danger, but also a descent into the very heart of the game's mystery. If you enjoyed this, check out my other videos. Click here to watch next.